Good afternoon, Gary. I hope you're well. Thanks for coming on. How's it all going? It's been a pretty mad couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been probably a month now where just a lot of uncertainty and not knowing what's going on. Obviously, in the initial phase, we could see, particularly with, say, for hospitality, for stock exchange and hotel football, we could start to see the business. It was helpful in some ways. We started to see the business drop off quite early. People reacted quite quickly in terms of sort of cancelling travel, cancelling events. So it gave us a sign of what was coming probably earlier than in the other sectors, like, say, for instance, development and construction, which obviously seemed to go right up to the death of the lockdown and even beyond. And then in football terms, that even went on, or tried to go on for another weekend until Mikel Arteta obviously got diagnosed with the virus. So I think it's just really uncertain in that initial phase. I think we've probably, like most companies, have been defending for the last few weeks, just sort of making sure that obviously from a first point of view, that we did all the right things from a health and safety and reassuring our staff, making sure that obviously we looked at our finances, but that's trying to look into a crystal ball in terms of not just when when you come out of this, you could sort of start to look at, say, China. I mean, Wuhan's come out of lockdown today, obviously where the virus originated, but then coming out of the lockdown doesn't mean that you'll just be going back to normal. So we've got the hospitality numbers, say, for instance, for China, before and after lockdown, because I think a few of the Chinese cities came out of lockdown a couple of weeks ago, and the numbers are depressed terribly, as you'd expect, because people aren't travelling, people aren't moving around, people aren't spending the money on leisure activity. People are still concerned about the impact of obviously the virus spreading on health and maybe second waves. I was on a call on Friday with our Singaporean partners on Salford City, and believe it or not, during the call, their Prime Minister announced that they were going to go into their most severe lockdown yet, because they'd had a second wave of returning, believe it or not, students from the US and UK. So it's so live, this situation. You just don't know what's happening. And I think that ultimately we're trying to all look into like I said, crystal ball and predict what our companies, what our lives are going to be like in a few months' time.
So, with you having various business interests, you've had to take different measures across the different businesses.
Yeah, I think all of the sectors that we're in, the only sector that we're in that's continued to operate as it normally would do, but I say not as it normally would do, it's doing through online learning and teaching, is the university. Obviously, we've all adapted in the last few weeks to conference calls via Microsoft Teams or Zoom or other methods. So the university, as the schools obviously have adapted as well, they've shown great agility to be able to actually deliver online learning to enable people to continue their education. So that's the one sector that continues to sort of limp along. The other sectors, hospitality, complete standstill. Football, we know, complete standstill. Development is near to a standstill in the sense that obviously we were working on St Michael's. We were getting quite close to announcing something, and then, as you know, and we ended up in a situation where this hit probably about a week before we were. So we can't do anything about it. The most important thing is obviously that you try and do the right things at this time, because obviously we're all being tested. But to try and do the right things is important, and hopefully you'll be looked upon, in the right way by your business partners, your stakeholders, your banks, your customers or fans if it's football, when you return to normal again.
How have you continued to sort of keep morale and communicate with your various teams? Have you found that hard?
Regular calls, like I suppose everybody's doing, not just with obviously the people within the business, but people within the family. In fact, in some ways, I've probably spoken to my family more than in this last 2 or 3 weeks via methods like this than I ever have done. So in some ways, that there's always positives to come out of it. But GT Hospitality set up a team Facebook page where it's almost like an online magazine for the staff to be able to contribute into. They have daily fitness sessions, quizzes in an evening. They have parties. They have different things. So that business is really doing well to keep its 250 staff all together. Doing quite innovative things. That was the business that, to be fair, reacted really quickly. We got out there quickly. We just said 3 things straight away: health of our staff and our hotel guests, reassurance to our staff, and then what could we do beyond that to try and support, obviously, the wider community. That was the one that was really sharp in doing things. Football was a little bit slow. Players, did they train? Did they not train? Can they train 2 meters apart? All that nonsense went on for a few days, sort of in the wider game, and obviously it got to the right decision in the end. And I know that Graham is, and the fitness team, the coaching staff, and the fitness, the sports scientists, they're giving them sort of daily plans. They're doing group sessions on, like, say, meetings like where they're doing groups of 5 and 6, and they do different things. So I think they're trying. I know that they're trying to work together. And I know behind the scenes, myself, with the management team, and Karen and Chris with their various, people are all working hard. Development really has come to a standstill. I mean, there's nothing really we could do with the phase of the sort of development we were in. So essentially, that is the one that's just at this moment in time paused. But you just react differently in each different business, and everybody's reacting pretty well from what I can see. I speak to a lot of other people and ask them what they're doing, how they're approaching it, and try and share ideas. It's not going to be easy. I think we've adopted this sort of idea that for the last few weeks we've been defending. We're now moving into a midfield phase where we need creativity and ideas about how we, attack reopening again and the restart again. So we're sort of entering into a midfield phase, not a particular area that I'm comfortable in. I bring Scholes in and Giggsy, I think, for these sessions.
I think there will be loads and loads of new ideas, but there'll be a lack of capital for businesses to implement these ideas. So I think it's forcing everyone to think openly, and our business is as well. But people are going to come out of this with a lack of working capital, obviously, and cash flow is going to be tight. But what's your view on when we do sort of come through this or edge our way through it? In terms of how people are going to work, do you think it will be a major shift in businesses like, well, you've been doing it for the last 5 years, but our business, if you've got 50 people, will you have 50 desks in Manchester?
I think people will work differently, particularly in the initial phases. The intelligence that we're getting, mainly through the football side, is that social distancing, and I think everybody's hearing it, social distancing will remain in place beyond the lockdown, which obviously impacts football stadiums. If we're looking at Salford City, it impacts our restaurants in terms of, impacts corporate events, impacts people's travel, people's mindset, just generally. I think in terms of offices, will people just rush back into offices and sit very closely with people in offices where there's not great space? I'm not sure. Maybe shift working, maybe more people working from home like they are now. I do think the dynamic might change. It's different per sector, really. I think that for football, it's quite simple. Football will return to normal the minute that fans can go back in stadiums, because the revenue will begin again. And fans, I think, will still come to football stadiums, is my feeling, because it's their relief and hope and joy that they have in each week. In terms of the hotels, we're anticipating a really difficult period. Maybe even up to September 21, we're allowing up to even that far. That, when will the confidence return in the market? When will people start to really freely travel again? And we keep hearing this 12 to 18 months sort of time scale for vaccine, and we think that the hospitality industry may be impacted until that's in place, because just naturally people will be a lot more conservative and a lot more reserved about what they're going to do. So I think that it depends on each industry, really. We're anticipating a really slow start, which I think most businesses are. But from the commercial sector that you're in, landlords, I think, may have trouble. Tenants might want reductions in space on renewal because they might want to work differently through. I mean, one of the things that I've been thinking the last few weeks is, obviously, when you have a moment like this, you always think to yourself, well, what was I doing before? I mean, the idea of travelling to London to spend, 2 hours in a meeting or an hour in a meeting when, you lose 8 hours of your day, sort of 2.5 hours travelling there and all the rest of it. Just seems a bit of a nonsense really now when you think of what's been happening in this last few weeks. So I think people's ideas will change. People still will want face-to-face contact, but I do think there'll be a lot more done. It's interesting actually at Microsoft Teams. We've been in our hospitality business, our CEOs from Malta and our FDs from Malta, and they do 3 days a week in Manchester, 2 days a week in Malta, and we've been operating on Zoom for the last 18 months since they started. Just naturally because they're in another country. So actually it wasn't too bad for ourselves to be able to adapt in the hospitality businesses because we'd already started using it and we're using it anyway. But I think things will change, definitely.
Yeah. And I could imagine you being quite a difficult person to live with without being able to leave the house really, apart from a bit of exercise. How are you coping?
I'm not too bad really. I think I likened it in some ways. You know, when you sort of like, I don't know, it's certainly not a holiday and it's obviously a terrible time. But when you go on holiday for a 2-week holiday, it takes you a couple of days to get into it and find your structure to what you're doing during the day and how you're going to sort of do things. I think it just took a couple of days probably for everybody just to sort of find that structure. So we have a conference call every morning at 8 o'clock, and then we do our fitness session 9:30 till 10:30. We have our meetings 11 till 5. And then we try and do something in the evening, either with the family or with the various businesses. There's a quiz night tomorrow night that one of the development teams hosting. So we're trying to do different things. But there is a structure to the day, which I think everybody wants to try and have. And it's important, obviously, that you do try and remain positive and have a structure, and you keep in contact with people. Everybody would feel, I'm sure, periods in these last few weeks just a bit weird, just a bit lost.
Yeah. What are you missing most?
I'm missing to be honest, I'm only missing 2 things really. One thing is going watching a football match because it's a massive part of my life and it's where I just feel free. I feel that anything else that's in my world goes away when I go and watch a football match, whether that be Salford, whether it be United, whether it be a game for Sky. So I miss that, and I miss not going into the office because just a change of environment, just going in there and the camaraderie, the way in which we all work together, the way in which you engage with people. They're the only 2 things that I could really say that I've missed. I've not missed anything else. I really haven't. I couldn't sit here and say, "Oh, I wish I could go to I don't know. I've missed a holiday. Or I've missed this." I don't. It's the things that I probably taken for granted. Going to work and watching a football match. They're the things.
What about your mum?
Pardon?
What about your mum?
I see my mum every 10 minutes on here. Honestly, you won't believe it. My mum. No, the one thing that, to be fair, I would say, my mum spends so much time with our kids. I mean, she literally spends so much time with them, as does Tracy. Tracy's just had a new baby boy. So obviously that is a massive loss for them. But I wouldn't ordinarily spend 5-6 days a week with my nephew or things like that. So I think it's different for everybody. I just miss the sort of things I've taken for granted. I'm still seeing my children. I still see my mum, probably 3-4 times a day on calls like this. My kids are ringing them all the time. So I feel like I'm connected with her, to be honest with you. And I do take her shopping up once a week because obviously she's at that age where she's vulnerable, as is Emma's dad. So Emma takes the shopping up to her dad and I take the shopping up to my mum once a week. And obviously, pass it through the window type thing and just have 5 minutes with her. So it's not too bad, really, that one.
Good. And just to finish off, Gary, I've got 5 very quick 5 questions. What's your favourite ever United game that you played in?
The 99 semi-final against Arsenal, where Giggsy scored the goal and revealed his wonderful chest.
Is that when Scholes tried to do it but then stopped?
I think Scholes in the background sort of goes to mimic him and then thought, I better not.
What's your favourite United goal?
Favourite United goal? Something, the David Beckham one from the halfway line is unbelievable goal. The Cristiano header at Roma away is just one of the best things I've ever seen. The leap from the edge of the box and heading it on the penalty spot. I think the Giggsy goal though in that semi-final is probably the one that just it still to this day gives me goosebumps, that goal and that match.
Yeah, it was class. Favourite holiday?
Favourite holiday? I would say definitely skiing. I would say Mejev at the moment. I'd say ski. Last 5 years, I've become obsessed with skiing. So I'd say skiing, and I would say Mejev.
Year that Salford will get their next promotion?
21.
And your favourite ever England goal?
Favourite ever England goal? Bex's against Greece. The one that got us qualified for the World Cup. He had a few digs at free kicks that day, and then his last one went in. It was amazing atmosphere, so definitely that one. Oh, maybe Gazza in Euro 96 as well, the little chip over Scottish defender and then putting it in the corner. That was an amazing as well. Those two.
Very good. Gary, thank you very much. Stay safe.
Thanks, and you.